Hey, have you ever wondered what those dots next to notes in your sheet music actually mean? I'm Chandra with Piano at a Glance, and in this tutorial, I'm going to teach you all about dotted notes. These dots significantly change the duration of a note, adding depth and complexity to the music that we enjoy most. And as a musician, it's important to understand how these notes work. So let's jump right into it. Looking at this chart, we know that a whole note equals 4 beats, a half note equals 2 beats, a quarter note equals 1 beat, and an eighth note equals half a beat. So when you see a dot next to a note, that's telling us to add half of the note's value to itself. So I'm going to go ahead and add these dots in here and break this down real quick for you. So the whole note has a total of 4 beats, and half of 4 equals 2. So that dot is telling us we're going to add 2 beats to that whole note, which is going to give us 6 beats. Next, we know that the half note is equal to 2 beats, and half of 2 gives us 1. So now we have a total of 3 beats. A quarter note equals 1, and half of 1 is a half. So now we have 1.5 beats. And this is where I'm going to stop, because this is actually the harder way to go about looking at these dotted notes. And most of us don't like to deal with fractions, and maybe some of us don't even know how to do fractions yet.
What?
So let me show you 2 easier ways to break this down. One easy way to look at this is if you visualize the dot as adding the next fastest note to the note that's given. So here we have the dotted whole note. Well, the next fastest note from a whole note is the half note. So here we know the half note gives us 2 beats, so we'll have a total of 6 beats for a dotted whole note. Now, for the dotted half note, we know that the next fastest note from a half note is a quarter note, which equals 1 beat. So now we have a total of 3 beats. Here we have the dotted quarter note. And the fastest note from, or the faster note from the quarter note is the eighth note. So that we know that eighth note is a half a beat. So now we have 1.5 beats. And here, now we have the dotted eighth note. And so the next fastest note from the eighth note is a 16th note. So when we add an eighth note plus a 16th note, that's going to give us 3/4 of a beat. An even easier way to deal with these dotted notes is to think of that dot as equivalent to the 3 of the next fastest note. We're not adding anything to the note itself, but for this case, we have a whole note, and the next fastest note is a half note. So 3 half notes equals 6 beats. Here, the next fastest note from a half note is a quarter note. So 3 quarter notes equals 3 beats. The next fastest note from a quarter note is an eighth note. So 3 eighth notes is equal to 1.5 beats. And finally, the next fastest note from an eighth note is the 16th note, and 3/16 is equal to 3/4 of a beat. So with that being said, let me show you some examples of how to go about playing these rhythms. Here's the first example I have, and it is a dotted quarter note followed by an eighth note, followed by another dotted quarter note, followed by another eighth note. So in this case, we have to subdivide in order to feel the dotted quarter note and that eighth note correctly. So I'm going to turn on my metronome and clap this out first before I play it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay? Now I'm going to go ahead and play it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. For the next example, we now have a quarter note followed by a dotted quarter note, followed by an eighth note, and ending with a quarter note. So we're still subdividing here. So I'm going to go ahead and clap this one out. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And now I'm going to go and play it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so next we have a dotted quarter note followed by another dotted quarter note and ending with just a regular quarter note. So here we have to subdivide once again. So I'm going to clap this one out. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. When I play it, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now I'm going to show you a couple of examples that have a dotted eighth note beamed to a 16th note pattern. So we're still going to subdivide, but when we subdivide, we're going to say 1 and for the eighth note pattern and 2 and for the dotted eighth beamed to a 16th note pattern. So we're going to say 2 and on the dotted eighth note, and the falls on the 16th note. So I'm going to clap this out. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And when I play it, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, and the next example is now just going to be the pattern of dotted eighth note beamed to a 16th note repeated 4 times, okay? So this pattern's commonly seen, and what we're going to do is count 1 and for the eighth note, and then the 16th note we're going to say So when I clap this, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. Now I'm going to play it. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. Thanks for watching. I hope this video helped you understand dotted notes a little bit better. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for future music theory tips and tutorials. And before you go, let me know down in the comments, which rhythm pattern gives you the most trouble? I'd love to hear from you and even address some of your issues in future videos. I'll see you next time.